This is regarding IP addresses. Any moderator or administrator should be able to check the IP address on any account. So once you bring up an account, a member, you go over to the old moderator tools, shared IPs, none found. And if you click on IP address, it'll bring up all the IP addresses that the account logged in on. Now, I want to switch over to this account, Willie Blake, which is associated with multiple spam accounts. You can see he's banned. Now, when you go over to the moderator tools and look at shared IPs, you're going to see a bunch of accounts associated with the same IP address. And they're all different accounts, and most of them banned or should be banned. They're all spam accounts with this one. So that's pretty straightforward. I want to show you this guy, this account, Snack Dog. Okay. If you were looking at this account, you'd probably go to moderator tools, shared IPs, and it would show no matching users were found. So you say, oh, well, there's nothing else associated with that account. If you go back to moderator tools and you look at this here, IP addresses, this gives a breakdown of all the different IP addresses that they've used to log in, how many times they've logged in from that address, and the date, the earliest date, and the latest date, which really doesn't mean too much. But the interesting thing is here, if you go to more users and click on that, it shows Snack Dog. So he's the user from that IP address, the only account that matches with that. If you go to the second one where it says more users, now you see another account that's linked with that same IP address. So the point of that is when you go to shared IPs and it says no other matching users were found, that's not necessarily true. They haven't figured out a way to correct that, because as you can see, when you go back to IP addresses, you'll see these two accounts. And if you look at these two numbers, they're identical. So that should come out in shared IPs, but it doesn't. So unfortunately, to find other accounts that are associated with it, you have to go through all of these more users if you really want to see if there's any other accounts associated with it. And just this guy alone, you can see there's dozens probably of multiple IP addresses that they've used to log in. So it can be pretty tedious. And sometimes that IP will show other ones. Sometimes it doesn't. Another thing I wanted to mention was you take this account here, Mr. Ray. Well, Ray hasn't been seen since August 15th of 2001. So when you go to search IP addresses, you're going to get no IP logs were found for the requested user. Now that's obviously isn't logged in 20 years plus, but they only have records for the last 2 years. So if someone hasn't logged in the last 2 or 3 years, you're going to get that no IPs were found for the requested user that come up at the top. Kind of stinks because we can't check farther back than 2 years on some of this stuff. Now going back to this account, to go a little deeper if you want to, you can go into moderator tools, IP addresses, and you can go a little deeper onto one of these IPs. So let's take the first one and just click it. It brings up this screen. This is what they use to check IP addresses. It's called What's My IP Address? And it's basically a database that checks for spammers and such. So it'll show some of the information from that IP address VPN server. So there's going to be multiple accounts. Now you can further go and click on this to check the blacklist status. That brings up this page, and you can scroll down and see these are multiple websites that create databases for spammers, and you'll see the green check marks on the left. On occasion, you will see a red X or red something or other, probably a red X on some of these because they were listed as spam. I don't find that as much anymore because even the spammers are using VPNs, and the IP addresses are being generated so randomly that they're not even logged into the spam databases. So, but it's always something you can check if you want.